Good evening, hello and welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Anusha Soni. It's no more Rajpath. It will be called Kartavya Path. The iconic road from India Gate to Rashtrapati Bhavan. Along with this, the Prime Minister will also unveil a statue of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose at India Gate. These steps are in line with the Prime Minister's second Panch Pran for the new India to remove any trace of colonial mindset. That's what the argument of the government is. But the opposition is clearly not happy. We have had the jibes coming in. They've called this refurbishing a mere gimmick. But this new infrastructure is part of the much ambitious Central Vista project, which is the flagship project of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government. Tonight, a slew of cultural programs, celebrations have been lined up as the heart of the national capital, the seat of the power of India's thriving democracy, gets a new name and identity. Let's cut straight to our reporters who've been tracking this story on the ground, who will tell you what exactly are the preparations, how is it really panning out. Arun, first to you, tell us about what kind of preparations are being made on the Kartavya Path. When that inauguration happens, what are we likely to see?
Well, see, all preparations are done and Kartavya Path is all decked up to witness the ceremony where Prime Minister Modi at around 7 p.m. will reach here, then inaugurate the Central Vista Avenue and also the Kartavya Path. I am standing at this moment on Kartavya Path, which has been renamed the Government of India, and look at the view behind me. This is the all-new Kartavya Path, and on the both side of this road you have these red granite pathways where people can walk, and also you can see these light poles. These are the things which I'm showing you are the new stuff which is part of this restructuring of the Central Vista Avenue, and even on that side where you can see in between those lawns, there is a pathway for people to walk. So earlier these things were not there, only the grass part was there. So they have made a systematic arrangement in this area, and most importantly, this is something which is very friendly for all those people, disabled people, all the
all right, my colleague.
For this thing, and
yes,
beneath this there will be the
my colleague Arun Thana getting us all those details. Arun, there was a slight glitch with your line, and hence I interrupted you. I'll come back to you. I want to cut across to my colleague Siddhant Mishra as well, who's live with us on the broadcast. Siddhant, what kind of preparations underway? Tell us what you see around.
Well, that's correct. At around 7:30, we are expecting Prime Minister to arrive. Before that, preparations are underway. The routes leading to Kartavya Path have completely been shut. The PM security has taken over the entire area, and after PM security, there is Delhi police deployed. In fact, today at around 2 p.m. In the afternoon, the offices in the central Delhi were done for the day, and most of the people have already left the area. Only 1,500 invitees are currently on their routes to Kartavya Path. They have special passes issued. Also at around 7:30, Prime Minister is expected to arrive, and after which he is going to take a round of Kartavya Path. He is also going to unveil the statue of Subhash Chandra Bose, and he is going to meet Shramjeevis at Kartavya Path. So it is not just about an inauguration of the first phase of Central Vistas, but it is more to do with the messaging. The messaging which Prime Minister spoke about from the ramparts of Red Fort on 15th of August, which is, to remove all the memories of British Raj, the colonial era, and this particular structure, this particular inauguration today reflects that. And this is exactly a message which Prime Minister is trying to send out by inaugurating Central Vistas Phase 1.
Yeah, Siddhant and Arun, get us all those details. Please stay with us. We'll keep coming back to you. I'm just going to take our viewers through what the Kartavya Path will really look like. What does it involve? This is the state-of-the-art architecture, part of the Central Vista project. Before and after, a lot of redevelopment work has been done. There are granite structures that have come in place. There are different kinds of trees that have been planted. Not to forget that even when this work was happening, there was much litigation that happened, and after clearances from the top court, all this work has been done. Look at the kind of work that has been done. The cables have been done away. There is more proper management. This is the iconic Kartavya Path, earlier called the Rajpath, so it should look look, up to its prestige before and after. Once again, those images on your screen. For you to understand the Central Vista project, it happens in chunks and pockets, and there are different areas near the North Block, South Block, Central Delhi, India Gate, which are being redeveloped, and that's what is happening. Once again, look at the way the buildings have been redeveloped, the pathways that have been created, granite structures have been created, trees continue to be protected. That was one concern that a lot of people had. So this entire area, patch of roughly about 16 kilometers, is today something which is in focus. And more importantly, that iconic road. When you stand at India Gate and you can see the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the North Block and the South Block on the right and the left respectively, that's the iconic road which is at the focus today, and those are the images on your screen right now. Once again, cutting across back to my colleagues. Arun, coming to you, about 1,500 invitees. Must be a high security zone today, the Central Delhi area?
Absolutely, absolutely. It is bound to happen because Prime Minister Modi will be here, and therefore the security agencies have already sanitized this entire area. The in and around roads have been completely blocked by the police. They have given different routes, and in advance this information was made it public through various social media platforms and through news channels. So everyone is waiting for the inauguration of the Avenue from Prime Minister Modi, because then tomorrow onwards it will be thrown open for the public. And as of now, the information that we have is that in coming few days there are additional things which will be added, which government has planned, like different stalls of the states will be given a space here, so that the people who come here, they will have the taste of the cuisines of different states, and also they'll be able to see the culture of those states where people may not be able to visit. So all these things will be here, but those arrangements are beneath this. You won't find any vendors or any store on this Kartavya Path. All the arrangements of it stuff will be beneath this, where you have the underground pathways. So this is going to be a grand evening, because Prime Minister Modi, none other than Prime Minister Modi himself, opening it up for the public tomorrow onwards, where we'll see how people respond to this, because this is opening up after 20 months. It was closed for 20 months. Nobody was allowed to, move or walk around this area. But tomorrow onwards, it will be open. So it will be very, very interesting to see how this new India Gate will get into the minds of people.
Absolutely. And anybody who's lived in Delhi, visited Delhi, knows that how important this entire area is. It holds memories, it holds our past, it holds our history, and now it will have the symbols of our future as well. The Prime Minister says, and the Government of India says, that we want to do away with the colonial legacy. Yes, the British rule over India is a past, but it's a past and we do not celebrate it. We only observe it, understand it, and learn from it. We do not want to have colonial symbols as our icons. Joining us on the broadcast is our panel of guests. We have Neha Joshi, who's the spokesperson of BJP. We also have Radhika Khera, who's the national spokesperson of the Congress Party. Abhijit Majumdar, who's the consulting editor of First Post, and Rajalakshmi Joshi, who's an author, is also joining us on the broadcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the show. I want to cut across to Neha first. Neha, a lot of criticism on the expected lines coming in from the opposition parties, where they say this is simply about reinventing the legacy and you have not done anything new.
Thank you, Anusha. So, the larger Central Vista project serves two objectives, part of which is, the capacity enhancement of the existing government buildings so that they can be more efficient, they can be more effective. And the part that is going to be dedicated to the public today, the Kartavya Path. We need to conserve our heritage, but we also have to understand that the India that we live in today, the new India that Prime Minister Modi constantly talks about, it's aspires to shed the colonial hangover and move forward. Today, the criticism that the Congress Party and other opposition parties actually have been, they've been going on and on about it for the past 2 years. They said this is Modi ka Mahal. Today, when Prime Minister opens this up for the rest of the country, for the Aam Aadmi of the country to come and visit, they may not feel this is a necessity, because they are they're a bunch of entitled elites who can go to Italy and France and walk the boulevards. But, if you look at the common people of India, they feel a sense of pride when they look at the new and improved and a more Indian Kartavya Path, as the Prime Minister dedicates it to the nation today. So I think the time for Central Vista really had come, and I'm glad that we're witnessing the grand unveiling of it. And Subhas Chandra Bose ji, he is going to himself, his statue, the grand statue, is going to be looking over this Kartavya Path.
And I think everybody will celebrate that across party lines, though we have had some jibes coming in from some parties. Radhika Khera from the Congress party is also with us in the studio. Radhika, what is the problem that the Congress party has with this kind of redevelopment project or model that the Prime Minister is talking about, or the renaming of Rajpath to Kartavya Path? I mean, this is about shedding colonial legacy, or you don't buy that argument?
See, first of all, I'm extremely happy today that there is a change and that the Prime Minister, his RSS, the BJP have finally realized who Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose ji was. Because if you remember, when Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose ji was forming his Azad Hind Fauj, what was Veer Savarkar doing? He was calling upon the Indian youth to join the British army to fight against our Swatantrata Senanis, fight against this Azad Hind Fauj.
I'll come to you, Neha.
So today, when they are finally realizing and giving Netaji the place that they should have given him back then and stood by him to fight against the Britishers, that is finally happening to now. At least they're recognizing that. So that is something which is, I am appreciating that. Now, having said that, when you talk about changing the name, what is actually the kartavya of a ruler, of a prime minister? In a country like India, which is the world's largest democracy, his responsibilities are much, much higher than those of other nations as well. Now, earlier, if you remember, he changed the name of Racecourse Road to Lok Kalyan Marg. किसका कल्याण हुआ? Mr. Gautam Adani, who no one knew for 8
Radhika
years,
ji,
and
Radhika
he
ji.
became the world's third richest man.
Radhika
So
ji,
it is about the kalyan.
I allowed you all your political arguments, but answer this question. The question for the Congress party is that after independence, it's the Indian National Congress which ruled at the center for most part of our history. Why did you preserve the colonial symbols? That's what BJP is asking. They're also asking that why were other big leaders like a Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose or a Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel were not celebrated with the same fervor as they should have been? That's the question of the opposition, your political opponents. Please answer that.
See, unfortunately, by just taking Mahatma Gandhi ji's name, making a huge statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji, does not mean that Prime Minister Modi ji's faith in them is restored. That is not happening. Are you forgetting his own member of parliament?
Yes, Neha, I'll come to you.
What did she say about Mahatma Gandhi ji's killers? And what did Modi ji say in return? मैं सिर्फ दिल से उन्हें माफ नहीं करूंगा. She continues to be a member of parliament. They have not thrown her out. See, you have to walk the talk. Like I said, you can make a kartavya.
A quick response from Neha, then I'll bring in Abhijit ji and Rajalakshmi ji also into the discussion. Neha, please go ahead.
Anusha, it's a travesty that Ms. Khera does not remember that until the 60s, King George V statue stood where Netaji's statue is going to be, going to stand tall today. Under the Congress rule, who ruled the country for years and years after independence? Can she explain to the nation why that decision was not taken earlier? One. Second, she talks about Kartavya, though all the political arguments, the same, long drawn arguments that she's doing. Ask about that Kartavya to the 80 crore people who got free ration. Ask about the Kartavya to the 20 crore women who got direct benefit transfer, even through COVID, because they had Jan Dhan accounts, because they had mobiles, because we have a digital economy. So, while Ms. Khera would like to make these arguments, which are highly political in nature, but also facetious, it's important that Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose deserved this place. And the Congress failed to honor him. 2019 was the first time that Azad Hind Fauj veterans were part of the Republic Day ceremony. Why was it not done earlier? Those are the questions that Ms. Khera needs to answer and the Congress party needs
I
to
will bring
answer.
in I will bring in Radhika ji once again into the discussion. Before that, Abhijit Majumdar, I'm coming to you. It is important to have the right historical symbols. I think it's important to have your roads named after the icons you want to celebrate, statues built of the leaders who you celebrate as a nation, and to have colonial legacies and effort that the government is making. Do you see any kind of substance in the allegations that the opposition parties are making that this is mere gimmick and they haven't really walked the talk? Abhijit ji.
Well, I'm just wondering what problem do they have? with Netaji being placed there instead of King George.
Yeah.
And what problem do they have with India, with a new India doing away with vestiges of colonialism, which had not been removed for so long? I mean, can you imagine a mass murderer like Aurangzeb had a main road named after him
in Central
for
Delhi.
such a long time? It's like having a road named after Hitler in Israel. It's terrible. So first of all, there is a matter of the mind getting out of the prison of colonialism. Second, there is utility. In 2026, after once we have the delimitation, etc., the number of MPs will be manifold. And will increase. So we needed a new parliament to house them. In fact, the current parliament was not designed to be a parliament, bicameral parliament. UPA itself, Congress itself had proposed a new parliament building in 2012, if I remember right. So I don't find any sort of on some things, the opposition or the Congress should actually stand with government, because otherwise, fine, they can criticize every single thing, but what happens is it's actually self-defeating.
Okay.
The people are watching. People see that there is opposition for no reason at all.
Okay.
In fact, the new India that is emerging is very proud of itself. It doesn't look at colonial legacy with any pride at all.
Abhijit, whether it's our education or whether it's our symbols, our infrastructure, I think colonial symbols should be done away with. It's time. I'll give Radhika the opportunity to respond. A lot has been said about the Congress party, but before that, Rajalakshmi Joshi ji, I'm coming to you. This renaming spree that the Congress party says that BJP has gone on, does it deserve the kind of political attention that it does? Because more importantly, the argument of the BJP is that this is about restoring our national pride and heritage. We want to do away with the colonial symbols so that indigenous symbols, our national heroes, can be celebrated. As an author, as a person who knows this subject, how far do you agree with this argument?
Good evening, Anusha. What I feel is that the Congress actually needs to pick its issues a little more wisely, because this is something that actually for a lot of years, for so many years, I don't know what actually caused them to not go ahead with all these things earlier. Now, I was listening to all these arguments about why it should actually have been called Rashtrapati Path and a lot of other things. So what had stopped the Congress from going ahead and renaming the Rajpath into Rashtrapati Path or whatever else they found suitable? But they chose to stick with all these colonial issues. Now, if we come to this Central Vista Avenue, it isn't just about one particular building or this public space. There are three issues here involved. That is the public spaces, there is the working spaces, and then there are residences. And all of them had a lot of issues because these are all outdated. Now they are 100 years old. So it's like having an old car, a vintage car, however fancy it may be. It is not functional. It is good to keep it in a museum and you can celebrate it all you want. But then there are so many issues. If you have the latest at your disposal, if you can make good use of the latest in technology, then why not? If you look at the public spaces now if a normal common person, an Aam Aadmi, goes to visit the Central Vista Avenue, there will be so much more convenience of parking. There will be so much more convenience of toilets. All of these issues, I'm sure that our British the designers, they never took any of this into consideration because they thought that India is just a poor country and they just wanted something to put a stamp of
how can we do away with that colonial legacy, and how is it that we can put the imprints of our own culture? Before I bring in Radhika Khera into the discussion, I want to cut across to a reaction coming in from actress Kangana Ranaut. Let's listen in.
नेताजी को और ऐसे कई क्रांतिकारियों के संघर्ष को, चाहे वो सावरकर जी हो, बिल्कुल डिनाई कर दिया था। बिकॉज एक पक्ष को ही दिखाया गया था, जो कि है कि मुझे एक चाटा मारो, दूसरा गाल में मैं आगे करूंगा। वो ही एक पक्ष दिखाया गया कि हमें जो है वो भूख हड़ताल करके या डांडी मार्च करके ही हमें आज़ादी मिली है। ऐसा नहीं है। कई लाखों लोगों ने खून बहाया है और हम लोगों ने, जो नेताजी ने जिस तरह से पूरे वर्ल्ड में एक कैंपेन करके भारत की जो दुर्दशा है उसमें पूरी दुनिया की नजर लाई। चाहे उन्होंने वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 में हिस्सा लिया, चाहे उन्होंने अपनी एक आर्मी बिल्ड की, उन्होंने एक्टिव पार्टिसिपेशन किया एंड उसके करके जो अंग्रेजों पे प्रेशर बिल्ड हुआ, फिर उन्होंने सत्ता जिसको दी वो उनकी मर्जी थी। लेकिन नेताजी सत्ता के भूखे नहीं थे, नेताजी आजादी के भूखे थे और उन्होंने देश को आजादी दी।
कर्तव्य पथ कहा गया, राजपथ नहीं होगा, कर्तव्य पथ होगा। एक सेकंड यार,
कर्तव्य पथ से
कर्तव्य पथ
है कि क्या पहले राजपथ था,
पाथ ऑफ ड्यूटी इंस्टेड ऑफ।
सो ये जो रास्ता है, ये हम लोग, ये रास्ता आने वाली कई पीढ़ियों, ये जो रास्ता है ये आने वाली कई पीढ़ियां इस पे चलेंगी। तो अगर आप राजपथ रखेंगे तो वो वैसा रास्ता होगा। ये कर्तव्य पथ है, तो ये मार्गदर्शन है। इट इज सिंबॉलिक ऑफ सो मेनी थिंग्स, right?
Ms. Kangana Ranaut, she is one of the invitees at the event. About 1,500 people have been invited to this grand event, of course, high security zone right now. Let's tell you more about what you're likely to see. What does this part of the Central Vista project really looks like? 16.5 kilometer long pedestrian walkways have been built in and around the Central Vista area. This is not just that one patch of the Kartavya Path, but areas around it. About 300 CCTV cameras that will be installed. Of course, the VVIP area. So, of course, all sort of security precautions are going to be taken. They're going to be lighting poles, better lighting on each side. Of course, there are solar panels also which are going to be used here. On the Kartavya Path, about 1,000 plus total lighting poles which have been put. You also have the canal width which has been increased. The government says that this infrastructure has been created to ensure that the beautification is done properly. There were trees here. There was a concern that these trees should not be cut. So after the orders of the Supreme Court, it was taken care that the environment in and around this area is not really disturbed. Now, the length has been increased. The entire canal area, you remember, on both sides of the India Gate, that still remains. It has been cleaned and widened. So that's what you're going to see here when you go again in this area. And there are also new bridges on the canal, about 4,000 total number of trees which continue to remain here. As I earlier said, a lot of them are very, very old trees. These trees should not have been touched. That was the order of the Supreme Court that has been complied with. That entire litigation that happened around the Central Vista project in the Supreme Court of India. 191 new trees were planted because these are the concerns that were raised, and because you had literally moved certain trees, you had to plant some. So those were the compliance guidelines that were there in place and have been complied with. I want to cut across to my colleague Siddhant, who is on the ground and getting us more details on that very important story. Arun Dhata also continues to be with us on the broadcast. Siddhant, first to you, what kind of security arrangements? 1,500 plus people have been invited. Tell us more about this guest list.
Well, look, it's 6:20 in the evening, and usually when we cross this circle where I'm reporting from, one could witness heavy traffic on road. But today you can see only police vehicles and important vehicles are allowed from this area. And in fact, the paramilitary force personnel are requesting us also to vacate this area. Now, on my right is North Block. I would ask my video journalist to give a sense to our viewers. So there you can see North Block and newly constructed, newly paved Kartavya Path is right there on my right. You can see some of the visitors have managed to enter this space, but very soon they'll be asked to leave this premises. And also on my left is Kartavya Path. Now this particular area has been completely sanitized, have completely been cordoned off, and has been handed over to Prime Minister's security. From 4 in the evening, this arrangement has been made, heavily barricaded. I can see NSG teams on the roads of National Capital. I can see RAF teams. I can see Delhi police personnel, and of course the Prime Minister's security. So entire area has been cordoned off, and in fact this is a Kartavya Path where we are reporting, and you know, it's a great moment for the country. because the entire entire Rajpath has been renamed, in a very new form.
Yeah.
And from tomorrow, this entire stretch will be open for normal public. They can come and visit this space. Back to you.
All right, I'm also cutting across to my colleague Amit from News18 India. He's also at the spot telling us about what really is happening. Amit ji, आपके पास आ रही हूँ. इस समय वहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है, किस तरह की तैयारियां हो रही हैं, कितने लोग वहाँ पर उपस्थित होंगे, सुरक्षा को लेकर किस तरह के इंतजाम किए गए हैं?
Security arrangements already my colleague has briefed. I'm just narrating you the sequence, whatever is happening here. You can see the scores of VIPs who are entering the premises. Just now, MP Ramesh Viduri has entered, and now you can see just very exclusive visuals I want to show you. You can see actress Kangana Ranaut. She's sitting there in our News18 frame, and she has also been invited in this function. And after some time, PM Modi will arrive here, and approximately he'll spend here around 1 hour and 30 minutes. And during this tenure, he'll give speech also. He'll walk around in approximately half an hour, all those areas. You can see the visuals. Scores of VIPs are present here. Kangana Ranaut, actress, she's present here. Apart from that, Central Minister Hardeep Puri and also BJP workers, they are also there. Dharmendra Pradhan and Adesh Gupta, Sanjeev Balyan, all are present here. So you can see these are exclusive visuals which you can see on CNN News 18 frame. And as the time will pass, more and more VIP will come, and these vacated seats will be filled. Apart from the actress, other VIPs also have been invited. So a historic movement it is, and all the Kartavya Path, which the new name has come into existence, this whole preparations are there. You can see right behind me, this cultural preparations are there, and the scores of artists are there who are going to perform. And we're trying to talk to some of the artists here, and we should talk to sir. ये बताइए कि अभी आप आए हैं यहाँ पे, क्या परफॉर्मेंस करेंगे?
जी, हम जो बंदिश, जिसको संगीत की परिभाषा में, अभिजात संगीत की परिभाषा में जिसको बंदिश कहते हैं, यानी कि काव्य है, वो काव्य 15 अगस्त 1947 के पहले स्वतंत्रता दिन के लिए पद्म भूषण डॉक्टर पंडित श्री कृष्ण रातंजनकर जी ने लिखा था. ये पहली बार, ये भारत के स्वतंत्रता के बाद पहली बार इसका सादरीकरण संगीत के रूप में हो रहा है.
So very special tune will be played. This exclusive information is a very special tune. After independence, it will be played here, and it will be related to the heritage of Indian history and how this the struggle from Rajpath to Kartavya Path came into existence. You can see the scouts of VIP here are entering. You can see the foreign diplomats, defense personnel, all are entering here. So in order to make this event historic and touching to the glorious heritage of Indian civilization, Indian history, this program has been conceptualized, and these are the exclusive visuals on CNN News 18 of this whole Rajpath to Kartavya Path naming programs, and you can see this all is happening here.
All right, all that is happening there. Before I go back to my colleagues Arun Dhata and Siddhant Mishra, there's a reaction coming in from Rajwardhan Singh Rathore. Let's go to that.
Kingsway, a path for the kings, has now been, which is called Rajpath, a Hindi translation, is now rightly been called Kartavya Path. Anybody who walks in this path, who walks in this track, has been given the responsibility by the people of this country, and therefore has to fulfill his responsibility. And no easy responsibility, it's a big responsibility. And therefore, in the philosophy of the Prime Minister, as soon as he became the Prime Minister, he says, I have not come here for satta. He says, I have come here not for ruling, but for seva, to serve. And in keeping with his philosophy, he is now correctly renamed this as Kartavya Path, and we are proud of it.
The recognition being given to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, which has not been given for so many years.
For years, there have been a segment of people in our country who were unfortunately ruling the country for a very long time. They wanted in the memories of the people only limited number of people, especially a family, being remembered for everything. Especially first people like Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, who gave their everything for this nation, were pushed to the corners. of history books. Today he finds the center stage, and again it makes us all so proud that everyone truly responsible for freedom of this country, fighting for the freedom of the country, is now being brought in the attention and the spotlight of the country.
This is the reaction coming in from Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore talking about the legacy, the colonial legacy, and of course what BJP has been saying is about honouring more symbols related to our independence struggle and our culture. I'm cutting across to my colleague Arun Dhata, who continues to stay with us on the broadcast, getting us more perspective and details from the ground. Arun, we just saw those preparations happening underway for the kind of cultural programs we are likely to witness. Could you give us a broad idea about what are the events, celebrations that have been planned? Who are the key dignitaries which have been invited? 1,500 plus people?
Well, that's right. People have already starting arriving at the venue, and which of course includes the top ministers and also various other dignitaries who's going to be part of this event. Very limited invites have been given, and all of them are waiting for the time when Prime Minister Modi will be reaching here at the venue near India Gate. A stage has been created near India Gate. Prime Minister Modi, once arrives here, he will be unveiling the statue of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose very close to the India Gate, that canopy where this statue will be unveiled. And then Prime Minister Modi, will be walking on this Kartavya Path, and that will be very, very significant visuals to see when Prime Minister Modi, as he spoke from the ramparts of Red Fort about the Panch Pran, and the second pran of that was the get rid of gulami, get rid of the slavery. That's the message which he gave. He gave from the Red Fort, and that is the reason why this road has been named as Kartavya Path, because the entire area will be the power center. You will have all the ministry, central secretariat here. You will have the Prime Minister's office, Prime Minister's residence, and this way will lead to that power center. Of course, the Parliament, Temple of Democracy will be here. That is the reason behind this road has been renamed after as Kartavya Path, because this is the way which they will take to this power center, from where the government machinery will work, and of course the people who will face difficulty to visiting different ministries because due to their different locations. This place, once you have Central Vista structure completed, the entire setup of the government will be in this area. So that will give that access to people, will not take much time to go to one ministry to other. So this area will be the power center, and this route, Kartavya Path, will lead to that duty path, which the message.
All right, my colleague Arun Dhata getting us all those details about what kind of preparations underway, what would you see in this new redeveloped area. I want to cut across back to my guests, Neha Joshi, Radhika Khera, Abhijit Majumdar and Rajalakshmi Joshi continue to be with us on the show. Radhika, coming back to you, a lot of questions were asked of the Congress party. I'd like to sum them up. Perhaps there are few things on which there shouldn't be an opposition. If you're widening canals, if you're renaming a road, if you're doing away with the colonial symbols, and most importantly, if you're instilling a statue of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, even if your argument were to be taken on face value, that they have not given Netaji the kind of respect that the Congress party says they should have during the independence and freedom struggle, and the history is debated there. But now they are, so why there should be a debate or opposition about it?
See, an elected government has the authority to make new canals. They have the authority to create whatever development is required. They should make new hospitals, school, whatever is required. But do they have that mandate to break every building, to dislocate everything? We've seen what has happened, how much money has been spent in the Central Vista project. Did this government actually do what it was elected for? Modi ji 8 years back promised that 2 crore jobs every year would be given to our youth. Where are those jobs? What happened to the mehengai that they used to sit with and say mehengai Dayan hai? All their ministers now, Smriti Irani ji, everyone used to sit with those cylinders. Now you are paying taxes on milk, on curd, on ghee. From the time you are born to the time you die, kafan tak ke liye you are paying taxes. Is this what they were elected for? Is this what the mandate was given for? So where is that money that the taxes is being collected being used for? That should be used for us. At the time of Corona, when the entire country needed health services, what was happening? People were dying on the roads.
Radhika ji, the argument is that if one after the other, BJP is winning elections, and these are the kind of infrastructure projects they've made. Look at what happened in the state of Uttar Pradesh and many other parts of the country. Perhaps it's a mandate for their policies and their projects as well. I'll come back to you. I'll talk to you more about this. Here's a brief snippet of what this new Central Vista project really looks like, a part of it. A new India that the Prime Minister has been talking about. It has about 5 vending zones. There are beautiful landscapes which are there in and around. The area has been redeveloped to create pedestrian pathways. There are beautiful landscapes. Trees that have been preserved, that have been here for decades. Around the India Gate area, especially near the canals, there was a huge problem of sanitation. Now that problem we would see eventually going away because there are better walkways, lawns and infrastructure that has been created to ensure that more and more government machinery can shift into this area. Hundreds and thousands of crore rupees are being spent to ensure that the power seat of one of the biggest democracy of the world, India, here in the national capital, it has the kind of infrastructure and the bandwidth that it actually needs. There are refurbished canals that we told you earlier. This is just one portion of it. There are new buildings which are being constructed, the parliament, of course, which is underway, and we will continue to see in the next few days and months and in the coming years before 2024 that more and more portions of it are going to be inaugurated. Pedestrian underpasses, of course, parking is a huge issue in this area. That problem is going to be sorted to some extent. As and when new areas of this project will be developed, there'll be more parking spaces as well. We're also hearing that you have the Law Minister Kiren Rijiju reaching the ceremony, where the ceremony is about to begin at around 7. He's speaking. Let's listen.
चंद्र बोस को जिस तरह से रिकॉग्निशन दिया है मोदी सरकार ने, कितना मायने रखता है, क्योंकि अभी तक वो रिकॉग्निशन नहीं मिल पाया?
देखिए, नेताजी का कंट्रीब्यूशन शब्दों में बयान करना मुश्किल है। उसको इस तरह का स्मारक या और भी काम करके उसको हम याद कर सकते हैं। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी जब से प्रधानमंत्री बने हैं तब से सुभाष चंद्र बोस को अलग अलग प्लेटफॉर्म में अलग अलग तरीके से स्थान दिया जा रहा है। और आज ये इंडिया गेट के लॉन में आज ये कर्तव्य पथ हो गया और यहाँ पे सुभाष चंद्र बोस नेताजी का जो स्टेचू को अनवेल करना और साथ साथ ये नए कर्तव्य पथ को अनवील करना, उद्घाटन करना, तो मैं मानता हूँ ये बहुत बड़ा हमारा आज़ादी का अमृत महोत्सव काल का बहुत बड़ा कदम है और इसको सेलिब्रेट करना चाहिए।
Why do you think the opposition is opposing to Rajpath being named Kartavya Path?
Because Congress party is so used to British rule or the family rule, so they want King's way, Rajpath. They don't want Kartavya Path. We are following the Kartavya Path.
Well, that was Union Minister Kiren Rijiju talking about the inauguration of Kartavya Path. It will no longer be called Rajpath. Abhi, Narendra Tomar is speaking, another minister is speaking. Let's go to that.
कर्तव्य पथ कहा है तो इसका सीधा संदेश है कि पहले कर्तव्य बाद में अधिकार।
All right, I'll cut across to Abhijit Majumdar, who continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Abhijit, the argument which is being made by the Congress party, and we see this argument very often, each time the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi is invoked, each time the legacy of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose is invoked, that historically, if you read the history and you see the freedom struggle, RSS or Savarkar or the right-wing leaders were not really supportive of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, or the historical contradictions that exist between the BJP of the present day and how their own icons conducted themselves or participated in the freedom struggle. How much of validity does that historical contradiction really hold in today's politics, in today's discourse? Is that even valid anymore?
About Savarkar's stand on Netaji, I think somebody, an expert on Savarkar or Netaji, like Vikrant Sampath or Anuj Dhar, would probably be better people to talk about. But my point is that what was Congress, what was Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru's, how did he treat Netaji, his memory, his INA and his family? I mean, there was the Netaji files show clearly that, there was snooping going on his, on his whereabouts, on his even on
Abhijit,
his
sorry,
family.
I'm interrupting you. Jitendra Singh is reacting. We are going to that.
शासन का जिसने 150-200 वर्ष हम पर राज किया और आज़ादी के 70 वर्ष के बाद भी उसका नाम उसी तरह से रहा, तो शायद यही कारण है कि हमारी मानसिकता में वो बदलाव नहीं आ पाया जो स्वतंत्र होने के बाद आ जाना था। तो मानसिकता को स्वतंत्रता का एहसास दिलवाने का काम प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया है, उन पद चिन्हों को हटा करके जो अंग्रेजी सरकार के कॉलोनियल रूल के पद चिन्ह हैं।
Well, I'm back to our guests who continue to be with us on the broadcast. Neha Joshi of the BJP is also with us on the show. Neha, you have a point to make. Please come in.
Anusha, I was listening to Ms. Khera make some points about, how the government is tearing down buildings, how it's spending money on projects that are unnecessary. The Congress is used to spinning lies, but it's interesting how election after election, they don't learn. Even here, as she sits on national television, I'd like to remind her that not one single building, heritage building, is being torn down for the Central Vista project. What the buildings that are being teared down are ugly additions that have been, post-independence additions. They're inefficient. They're a hindrance, in fact, they're eyesores, so to say. The government of India annually will save around 1,000 crore in rentals once the new Central Vista is ready. So these are all facts that are out in public, yet the Congress insists on misguiding, it insists on, spinning all these lies on national television. What I don't understand is that here today is a day when the Central Vista Kartavya Path is going to be dedicated to the public. When Subhas Chandra Bose's grand statue is going to be installed there, instead of celebrating, instead of saying that, hey, we are coming out of the colonial hangover, this project of decolonization that Pradhan Mantri Modi started in 2014, this is one grand step towards that. What is it that makes the Congress cling on to our colonial past? Is it that sense of entitlement?
Radhika, 30 seconds to you for your response, and then I'll go to my colleague Amit. But Radhika, the question I also want to understand is that this government or Prime Minister Narendra Modi has not built an infrastructure which is named after himself or some family. These are icons which are undisputed icons of our independence struggle. These are colonial structures. Nobody can deny that. You can question the intent of the government, but the substance here is that these are people, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, that all of us celebrate. Then why have a political controversy over such a thing?
When I started with my comment, I said that I welcome the fact that Netaji's statue is being placed over there, and the government has finally, Modi ji and the RSF finally realized what he meant to the freedom struggle. Now, having said that, you remember 8 years back, there was this huge furore and Modi ji came into power with his world famous Gujarat model. The Gujarat model, which 3 years back, when Mr. Trump was here, there was this wall that was created to hide poverty and hide what actually the Gujarat model is. I think the spokesperson of BJP is forgetting that.
But
what worries
Radhika
me,
you
is
haven't
this also
answered
going
my
to
question.
be like that?
You haven't answered my question. You haven't answered my question. We can talk about inflation, we can talk about price rise, and all of them are very, very important issues. I'm not running them down. But historical structures, doing away with colonial structures, having our roads named after the right people are also important. And this is a country which now wants to confront these issues. We want to talk about these issues. We can't shy away by saying, look, there is a problem of inflation, so we're not going to talk about it. We'll talk about both of them.
But we are not talking about both of them. We are only renaming. When it comes to mehengai, like I said, we are paying taxes on milk, ghee, curd, right from the time a child is born to the time we die, we are paying taxes. But unfortunately, what is the concern of the finance minister? She wants Modi ji's photograph to be there when she goes to Telangana.
I'm sure.
Not talking about tax, the amount of mehengai that is there. That needs to be spoken about.
I'll come back to the larger debate. I want to cut across to my colleague Amit, who is at the spot right now, getting us a sense about what exactly is happening. Amit, over to you. Tell us about what kind of preparations are underway.
In about half an hour, PM Modi will be here, and he'll spend about half an hour he'll have a walk around those fountains and water bodies which are being built. And you can see now the light is there. The India Gate is decorated in tricolor. You can see that whole designing is being done. And across that, you can see some people are entering here. These are the sportsperson. Probably these are the members of Indian shooting team who has been specifically invited of this this historic occasion. Now, coming to what is the speciality of this occasion? The speciality of this occasion is that it is connecting the Indian tradition, Indian heritage with the Rajpath, which has been converted from Rajpath, which has been now converted to Kartavya Path. We'll try to talk to Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, Central Minister, in some time now, in a few minutes now. You can see the whole preparation is there, which is being there, and scores of VIP who are arriving from here. You can see the beauty of this lane, the whole lane which is being built, constructed here out of red marble, and VIPs are constantly entering from here. And you can just, if you can give me few minutes, I'll try to talk to.
All right, Gajendra Shekhawat is speaking. We are cutting across live to that.
नागरिक की ये जिम्मेदारी होती है कि वो इसे उसको सपने को साकार करने के लिए काम करे, अपना कर्तव्य मानते हुए, अपना उत्तरदायित्व मानते हुए काम करे, देश उस मार्ग पर चढ़े, देशवासी उस मार्ग पर चलें। मुझे लगता है कि अब उसके लिए इस प्रेरणा की आवश्यकता है।
सर, नेताजी को आज तक जो रिकॉग्निशन नहीं मिला है वो बिल्कुल हार्ट ऑफ द नेशनल कैपिटल में मिल रहा है इंडिया गेट पे।
देखिए, नेताजी जैसे बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होंगे, चाहे भीमराव अम्बेडकर होंगे, नेताजी होंगे, या और भी कई लोग होंगे, जिन लोगों को इस तरह के रिकॉग्निशन के लिए कई दशकों तक इंतजार करना पड़ा। केवल एक परिवार मात्र को ही या केवल चुनिंदा लोगों को ही देश की आज़ादी की लड़ाई का या आज़ादी के सूत्रधार मान करके राजनीतिक लाभ प्राप्त करने की चेष्टाएं जो देश में की गई थी, मुझे लगता है उस पर पूर्ण विराम लगने का अंत आ गया। देश कृतज्ञ भाव से ऐसे सारे जो लोग जिन्होंने देश की आज़ादी के लिए कहीं न कहीं योगदान किया, देश के निर्माण के लिए योगदान किया, आज देश पूरे कृतज्ञ भाव से उन सबको श्रद्धांजलि देता।
Well, cutting across back to my colleague Amit, who was getting us a sense about what exactly is happening at the Kartavya Path, where that ceremony is about to start in roughly 15 to 20 minutes from now. Amit, cutting back to you, all of us have a memory of Kartavya Path, that stretch from India Gate to Rashtrapati Bhavan. All of us who live in Delhi or who have visited Delhi have taken a stroll there midnight or some time of the day. How different does it look right now? What are the key changes that have happened? उस जगह में क्या-क्या परिवर्तन है, क्या-क्या बदलाव है जो आप हमें बता सकते हैं?
See, the visuals only will define what major changes have taken place. Now, my camera person Pankaj Tomar will also show you the whole scene, scenery. You can see the water bodies shining here across. Behind that, VIPs who are entering. We can see Union Home Minister for State Nityanand Rai, who is coming here, and behind that you can see the water body which is shining there. This was not present there before, and in that water body, shining of light is there, so this enhances the whole beauty. And right behind this water body, if you can see that a fountain, that fountain was specifically constructed here in order to increase the scenic beauty here. And now this is one part. Now second part, if change, you have talked about change.
Yeah.
Now coming across to this grass. This grass has been specially being installed here, and so that people who will come here during the course of a later course of day or in the evening, they'll sit here, they'll relax here, and they'll just look at the statue of Subhas Chandra Bose, and this is all whole being constructed keeping in Indian tradition and values in mind. And this is phase one, and by 2024 the government plans to complete PM residence as well as the Defence Ministry's office also where. So massive plan, massive work is going here, and one can completely feel the change when it is being fully constructed, and now when one of its parts is being constructed here.
Absolutely, and a lot of jammers in and around that area, but still my colleague is getting you that report from the ground about the changes that you can see in that entire area. I want to cut across back to Neha Joshi, Radhika Khera and Rajalakshmi Joshi, who continue to be with us on the broadcast. Radhika, we were talking about the key issues. You said that price rise is an issue, and yes, it is an issue. The kind of duties and taxes which have been imposed on people, that's an issue. But why is it that the Congress party is always shy of talking about the history and legacy that has been created during their tenure? Good that the statue of King George V was removed, but no other statue was installed there. So today when you have over 20 feet long statue of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose being installed, you should be happy. Without the caveat of good that the BJP has learned the lesson. You have a political caveat there.
See, when that statue was removed, lots of historians, civil society, there were lots of discussions. Many governments came up with ideas. The statue of Mahatma Gandhi ji, the sitting statue of Mahatma Gandhi ji, which is outside the Parliament building, that was initially supposed to be installed over there. Then due to some reasons, it was not installed. Many governments came, went. There was always something that was, there were discussions. And then historians...
Sorry, Radhika, to interrupt you. We're getting some live visuals and some live feed which is coming in from the ground. Those are the dignitaries which are reaching for that event. You have BJP President JP Nadda. You also have Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia speaking. Let's listen.
जनसेवक के रूप में हम सबको आम सामान्य नागरिक के रूप में इस देश की वैभव और एक नक्षत्र की तरह उभारने की क्षमता जो हमारे देश में, उस पर पूर्ण रूप से हमें लगना है। यही प्रधानमंत्री का आह्वान देश के हर नागरिक के लिए, हम सब के लिए। उससे प्रेरणा लेते हुए हम लोग जूझ कर उस सोच विचारधारा को हम लोग साकार करने के लिए पूर्ण रूप से हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे।
बहुत सालों से नेताजी।
That was Jyotiraditya Scindia speaking, and he once again spoke about the kind of history that they want to honor, that BJP wants to honor as a party. I'm going back to our guests, Neha Joshi, Radhika Khera and Rajalakshmi Joshi, who continue to be with us on the broadcast. Sorry, Radhika, you were interrupted. Please finish your point, and then Neha, I'm coming to you.
All governments, everyone tried, and historians and civil society, everyone was of the belief that we should leave that empty. Like I said, but then Gandhiji's statue was placed outside the Parliament. Now, again I said, we welcome the fact that Netaji's statue has been put over there. But you cannot just keep having all these events. You install the statue, that is absolutely fine. You rename a road, that is fine. But the money that is being spent... to change things
isn't
which
the fact that they are winning
right
elections
now.
After elections a mandate for the decisions
I'm sorry,
that they've taken?
buying out governments is not winning elections.
Did they buy out a government in the state of Uttar Pradesh?
They bought out Goa.
What about Uttar Pradesh?
They bought down Madhya Pradesh when we
What
were
about
fighting
Uttar
COVID.
Pradesh? Why don't you talk about Uttar Pradesh, Radhika?
They won Uttar Pradesh, but why are we not talking about Madhya Pradesh when the party, when the BJP, the main priority should have been helping people during COVID? They were bringing down a government.
And right after the COVID, the deadly second wave, you had the UP elections happening and the government there once again.
But after that, what were they doing?
Anusha, can I respond?
Where are they getting
Neha,
the money
go
from?
Neha, go ahead.
I'd like to just educate Ms. Khera that the cost of the Central Vista project is about 20,000 crore over several years. Government of India has allocated nearly twice that amount for COVID vaccination for just a year alone. So, I think the Congress spokespersons need to read more. Now, coming to the point of Netaji's statue being installed there, Anusha, this statue being installed there is not just, statues are about symbolism. Yeah. But here, this is a larger symbol. This is not just about Netaji, but this is a symbol to remind, the coming generations that we did not get Azadi without Khadag and Dhal. Lakhs of Krantikaris, freedom fighters gave up their lives, and Netaji's statue, as it rightfully will stand tall at the India Gate, will be a reminder to the coming generations of that. We have been misled. We have, our history has been written in a very biased manner, and today
Radhika,
is a day when that historical wrong is going to be corrected.
Address this head on, and I would not hesitate to say, don't bring in inflation here, price rise here. I've said this many times that that's an important issue, but address this argument head on, that have you given the respect to the cultural icons like a Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose or a Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and the manner in which you preserve the heritage of these icons, these freedom fighters, is by naming buildings after them, is by creating roads after them, is by introducing them to our textbook and our syllabus in schools. Has the Congress party done that bit?
23rd session of the Hindu Mahasabha in Bhagalpur, 1941. Veer Savarkar, what did he say? He encouraged the youth of India to join the British Army and fight against who? Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. I wish the BJP spokesperson had read what history is, because our today is based on our history. When everyone, Mahatma Gandhi ji, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji, who went on to ban RSS, and Subhas Chandra Bose ji, or Lala Rajpat Rai ji, or Bhagat Singh ji, all of us were fighting for the freedom of India. The freedom that gives us this freedom, that you are sitting over here and questioning everyone, and that we are not North Korea. Where was the BJP? They were calling upon the youth of India to join the British Army. They were writing Maafi-namas to the British Empire. They were taking money from the British Empire.
But Radhika,
that is the sad truth. And I'm very, very glad, like I said, this statue of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose ji is also going to be a reminder and teach our youth about the history. History that they are erasing from the textbooks.
Would you also talk about the fact that who invited RSS to be part of the parade, of the Republic Day parade?
Well, that is something that is again questionable. There are certain books that are saying that happened, and there are no proofs, there are no photographs. We do not know for sure right now. Secondly, let me just come back to this point.
Fact that history can be written
I did not interrupt
in a lot of
this lady.
ways.
Let me please complete. What we need to talk about, why we say that again and again. It is fine. You rename anything. You rename whatever you want, but you have to walk the talk. If you are taking credit of building and respecting Mahatma Gandhi ji, using his spectacles on your yojanas, you also have to throw out that woman MP from Madhya Pradesh who was applauding the cartels of Mahatma Gandhi ji.
And she was condemned. She was condemned for what she said.
मैं कभी बात नहीं कर पाऊंगा दिल से. That is all.
Neha, you want to respond to that? Neha, you want to respond to that? Because I think in that there is a pertinent question that the Congress party has, because that was a very objectionable statement that was made. Yes, the Prime Minister also made a statement about it, but was there any substantial action that was taken?
You know, I'd again like to remind Ms. Khera and also our viewers that the MP in question, the Prime Minister very publicly reprimanded for the said comment. Again, this is a person who was acquitted. You know, charges, terms like saffron terror that were coined by senior leaders of the Congress party. All those charges, she was acquitted of those charges, and she's a democratically elected leader today.
Okay.
So, you know,
I want to bring the attention of the debate back to what we are talking today, which is the inauguration of the Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose statue and the Kartavya Path and the infrastructure which is being built, the politics around it. Rajalakshmi ji, you are with us on the broadcast. You heard what the political discourse around this entire issue is. History in today's time is heavily contested. It is always contested. There are always versions of history, from one writer to another, from one author to another, but perhaps in deeply polarizing times, from one political party to another.
Anusha, what I feel is, there is this unnecessary discourse about who gave whom any kind of recognition before or after, etc., etc. But then, very conveniently, it is being forgotten that there have been so many buildings, so many structures, so many iconic structures, where the name of Subhas Chandra Bose was very conveniently forgotten, and the names of only the one particular family of the Congress party was they were being recognized. So let us just keep all of that aside. Okay, I think everybody should now take pride in the fact that there is this iconic place that has come up, and like I said earlier, it's not just about this public space. It is not just about any particular structure here. Also, it is a combination of everything. It is a combination. See, conveniently, there is this opposition about how some buildings are being torn down, which is not true, and also these structures are actually almost 100 years old.
I'm running out of time. Radhika, 30 seconds to you and 30 seconds to Neha. This is a project, the Central Vista project. In many ways, this litigation went to the Supreme Court of India. The court did not decide on whether the project should happen or should not happen, but all the objections that were raised to about the project, the procedure, environmental concerns, everything has been given a green signal by the Supreme Court. Then why the controversy?
See, all I know from what I've been hearing the other people say on the show, that Congress did not do that, Congress did not do that. Well, the BJP has only been in power for 8 years. And before that, when Vajpayee ji, their tallest leader, if you remember, Sonia ji defeated his Shining India. So the people of India have again and again chosen Congress in the last 75 years.
But the last 8 years haven't been good for you.
So they gave them their mandate to name those places.
Yeah.
By the people that we are talking about, the name should be changed. But they also gave the mandate because they knew that the Congress was working for the people. 8 ही साल हुए हैं. And कोई भी कुर्सी in the Gita it is written, ये जो आज है वो कल आपका होगा, जरूरी नहीं है कल किसी और का होगा. तो ये जो कुर्सी है मोदी जी की वो हमेशा उनकी नहीं रहेगी. There will be a change.
नहीं, I'm sure बीजेपी भी आपसे यही कहना चाहेगी कि कुर्सी आपकी बहुत समय तक रही है, अब आपकी नहीं है. नेहा, quickly respond.
केवल 8 ही साल हुए हैं. 8 सालों में करोड़ों लोगों को गैस सिलेंडर पहुंचाया गया, करोड़ों घरों तक बिजली पहुंचाई गई, तेज रफ्तार से नेशनल हाईवेज बन रहे हैं, 12% लोगों को गरीबी से बाहर लाया गया डिस्पाइट द कोविड पैंडेमिक. So while it's hard for the Congress to digest this, here is an India that's aspirational, and the Kartavya Path that the PM dedicates to the nation today is a symbol of that aspiration, that passion, that persistence, that perseverance.
Neha Joshi, Radhika Khera, Rajalakshmi Joshi, and we also had Abhijit Majumdar with us on the broadcast. Thank you all for joining us on the show. We'll continue tracking all the details and development. Live visuals will be on your screen in just some time from now. 7 p.m. is that when statue will be inaugurated, and the inauguration of Kartavya Path as well also is expected, an address from the Prime Minister himself. All eyes on those developments. With that, it's a wrap from me. Shivani Gupta takes the news forward.